Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we are checking out Go With The Flow by the incredible Queens of the Stone Age. It's got a couple of really cool tricks if you're getting into power chords, something that you definitely want to check out. Relatively simple tune. There are just 2 4-bar chord progressions. It's a bit of a mission to keep up the 8th note picking for the whole tune, but we'll talk about that a little later on. Let's start off with the chords. So, the very first chord in the song is an E power chord for 2 bars. So literally open thicker string, 2nd fret, use your first finger, and you don't want to play the thinnest 3 strings. And you almost certainly want a little bit of palm mute here, so just using the edge of your hand there on the edge of the strings, as opposed to this. Once you put the palm mute on it, it kind of heavies it up a little bit. Sounds pretty cool. So we've got 2 bars of the E to start off with. Then we've got the second chord, which is actually the first chord in the 4-bar sequence, which is this C5 over G. So it's a C power chord, but with a G bass note. So we start off with a regular C power chord. And as many of you should know by now, the tip of the first finger should be muting the thicker string. That would be a regular C power chord. The thinnest 2 strings are muted as well. But a really cool trick used by a lot of bands like Queens of the Stone Age is using the first finger to cover the thickest 2 strings, which gives us this lower note. It sounds a lot heavier, a lot fatter all of a sudden. It's just doubling this note. So there's our regular power chord, which is a doubling of the note C. If we add the G and an octave below, we got a lot heavier, meatier sound. Now, I think the Queens of the Stone Age actually detune their guitars as well, so there's actually an even deeper, thicker sound available. But in regular tuning, this is as close as we can get, and it's a really great trick if you're playing a band to get this lot fatter sound. So you're going to be playing this with all down picks, and this first bar of C, we're going to use this little pattern: 1 and 2 and 3, 4, down, 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 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So you just hold the chord there for the beat 4. The next chord that we've got is an open A5 power chord. Okay, so we're not playing the thicker string. You might want to mute it with your thumb if you can reach over to do that. Then open 5th string, 2nd fret. Thinnest 2 strings we try and mute, but many of you will find that a little difficult to kind of flatten the first finger enough to get those notes, but mute the B string. Okay, you just want to work on gradually just lifting this knuckle up just a little bit so you can get, and then those thinnest 2 strings are muted. And we got exactly the same pattern: 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So we C5 with the G bass. I'm just going to call it C, but it's C5 with the G bass. To the A. Then 2 bars on the E, 8th note solid. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the first progression, okay? 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4. If you want, you could play the A as a power chord here at the 5th fret on the thicker string root. So 6th string root, 5th fret, 7th fret, 7th fret. That one works just as well as the open one, but I think sounds a little more like a little bit kind of raspier there with the open string as well. So that's chord progression 1, and we talked about the rhythm as well. So if you have a look at the chorus now, we start off with the C5/G, okay? The same chord that we used for the verses. We're going to play that chord, then we're going to lift up first finger and play exactly the same, but with the thickest 2 strings open. Sounds a little bit weird. when it's kind of isolated like that, but in the context of the track, it sounds really good. Now, there's a few different guitar layers going on here. I'm pretty sure one of them is just going, and then it's the same shape up 2 frets. Okay, still with lifting off the first finger to get those open strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we got the 2 bars on the E. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now you probably hear when I'm pumping the 8th notes on the E, and what that means is going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's called pumping 8th notes. I'm often putting an accent on beats 2 and 4, which is where the snare drum comes from the drummer. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you accent those ones a little harder, it sounds a little bit cooler. It kind of fits the guitar part in with the rest of the band really well. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Now, I'm fairly sure I can hear another guitar part on the original recording that is playing solid 8th notes through that section. So it is kind of difficult to tell when you get lots of heavy guitars all layered up to really get the parts defined, but it's one of those, they all sound cool actually, whether you're just doing the basic or you're going, I mean, they both rock really hard, so it's completely your choice as to which one of those things you're going to do. Now, I'm pretty confident that with these little puzzle pieces I've given you, you're going to be able to put the whole thing together. You just need to use your ears and listen to the original recording. I highly recommend playing along with the original recordings to soak up some of the groove, because it's not just about the notes. It's capturing the energy and the vibe of the track, and the best way of doing that is playing along with the original recording, so don't miss out on that part. Now, if you're a slightly more advanced guitar player, you might like to check out some of the lead parts as well. There's a very little solo there in the intro. It's not a particularly difficult one if you wanted to transcribe it. It's quite high up, but just take it one note at a time and see if you can get it. There's a few other little kind of funky elements going on in the song. There's this little melody that comes up in the verses. This happens on the E chord. You can't really get from that low part to jump into it, so again, that's kind of a layered thing if you're playing in a band. One guy's going to be doing, other guitar guy goes, it's just literally 12, 13, 15, 13, back to 12 on the second string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. See? This is a super slow-mo version. A, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, it's not a difficult one to add in there, even if you were on your own. It does sound better though as an additional layer. Now, the one other little bit I want to mention that happens toward the end of the song is really, really cool, is there's a little kind of tremolo picking line that follows the chords in a really clever way. It's starting off playing the note G, which is the 15th fret on the thinner string. It's playing that while the C chord is going. When the chord changes to D, it's going to the 17th fret, which is the note A, which is also a chord tone of the D chord. But then it drops down to the G sharp, which is a chord tone of E major. It's just a really nice little line. So it's going for one bar here. And it's doing the full 2 bars on the E. So C chord, D, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, D, there's the G. It's just a really, really nice way of kind of creating a layer, particularly at the end of the song. You often get that in a rock tune, a really high up note played continuously that fits with the chords. And this is a really classic version of that, and something that you might like to check out as well. Remember, over on the website there are hundreds more great rock and roll tunes that you might like to check out, all graded by difficulty. If you happen to be over on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate your support. Give us a thumbs up and a comment. Let me know what other Queens of the Stone Age songs you'd like me to do next. I'll see you for plenty more lessons very soon. You take care of yourselves. Bye bye.